All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Mortgage Coach Friday, every Friday, 9 o'clock Pacific, live mastermind. We have Todd Bookspan back today, my co-host of this entire thing. How you doing, Todd?
You know, I'm doing great. It's good to be back. I missed the community 2 weeks off, and it was although I was having fun, don't get me wrong. I missed being here, so I'm glad to be back today.
Good. Well, it's good to have you. So, folks, we only have Todd for the first half hour. He is at the Genius Network, learning how to be a better entrepreneur. And what are you going to be focusing on over the next couple of days?
2.5 days on mastering your message. So it's a copywriter and an internet funnel genius talking about how to craft your message. So I'm sure I'll have some good takeaways to bring back to all of you soon.
Good. Well, we're looking forward to learning what you learned. So let's do this. We also have Michelle Town on today's call. As many of you know, Michelle was the leader on last week's call. Both Todd and I were off. And I would love to make sure Michelle just shines a light on some of the takeaways from last week and any reflections you've had since that call. Michelle, I have pulled it up, and anybody who doesn't know what we're talking about in the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel, here is last week's call. And Michelle, could you kind of give us some takeaways and highlights?
Oh my gosh, it was, first of all, happy Friday, everybody, and welcome back, Todd. Missed you, and welcome back, Dave. It was a lot of fun. It put me out of my comfort zone a little bit because I wasn't used to being the leader, and I had a great time, and I had some great partners. Well, first, Marcy, always thank you, but Wally and Shane, I mean, they killed it, in Dave's words. They were, we did a lot of role playing, which I thought was so helpful to me, at least for me, and I think it was helpful to a lot of other people. I got a couple of calls and text messages afterwards that they absolutely loved the role playing, because it's easy to see a script, but it's better to see it executed, and how they overcame the objections on a rate shopper. Or some of the big things that I took away was they do a call when they're getting ready to do the offer, and they do basically a commitment call before they call out the listing agent to talk on the behalf of the client. And they have the client commit again and say, listen, we're about to make a call to your listing agent. We are going to commit to a 15 or 21 day closing. We are going to tell them how amazing you are. We need to know at this point that you're basically all in. And it is so smart. And I can't believe I've never thought of that before. And that's why I'm so glad I'm in this community. That is incredibly empowering to remind your client of your value. Also to get off the topic of rates, because rates, as we know, are not what should be selling us. We don't sell a rate, we sell our service. The other thing that was really important to me was watching how Wally and Shane transform their partnership, and to hear somebody like Shane come in and say, I came and basically worked for free and offered to work for free for Wally for a while. And one thing that Wally said that I think resonated deeply with me was, and he said about 5 years in, he realized, and not with Shane, but in his work world, is that he is not, he can create the opportunity. He's not responsible for their success. It was pretty huge.
Love that. Well, I have interviewed Wally, countless times in countless ways, and he's incredible. So I can't wait to hear it myself. If you were on last week's call, it's called Overcoming Borrower Objections. If you had a favorite script, a phrase, whatever, bring it into the conversation. Make sure you check it out, and let's make sure we get the most out of that particular call. What I'd like to do next is tee up another topic. By the way, Todd, any questions or comments about what Michelle said before I tee up the next topic?
No, I think it's really critical, the whole overcoming objections thing, because it's great if you learn the script, but they're going to have some other objections. So you've got to do that, practice it. I love the role-playing piece that Michelle mentioned. I haven't watched the call, so now it's on my to-do list, so I will be doing it. But I just think that's critical. If you haven't really thought through that, who is in your office that you can actually role-play with, because you're going to get those objections. And if you don't practice and script how to overcome the objections, then you're really defeating the purpose of having the great script that you start off with.
Totally agree. Also, a reminder to anyone that's watching it, if you haven't watched the Script Palooza, we had, a dozen of America's top loan officers just doing scripts. And I mean, the scripts were incredible. If you have a favorite, let us know what it is. And by the way, if you want to talk about any of this during today's call, this is a mastermind. So let us know what your questions are, share it in either Facebook or the Zoom platform. So what I'd like to do now is I'd like to tee up a topic, and I want to tell you why I teed this topic up. It started by the interview I had with Cindy Ertman this Tuesday. Cindy is just, a Hall of Fame, legendary leader in our industry. She's been over a $200 million a year producer, so running a team. She's been a branch manager. She's been a regional. She's a coach and mentor. And the interview that I did on Tuesday was centered around, what does it sound like to have the first meeting? Like when she meets with a realtor, how does she show up? What are the questions that she asks? And throughout that conversation, one of the things that just became abundantly clear to me, a lot of what she did was it was emotional intelligence. It was, and anybody that knows Cindy, they know that you will never find someone who is more just grateful and always bright. And by the way, if she is having a hard time, she's pretty transparent about that too. So just this very authentic, amazing servant leader. And so I was just thinking about it. And then literally yesterday, I was perusing, however I got my reading, this Inc. magazine article of Dwayne Casey. People may not know his story, but he won Coach of the Year in the NBA, and 2 days later he got fired. And, most people would think like, okay, what kind of letter would he put out there in the world? If you haven't read this, highly recommend you read it. I think it's an incredible letter. And I also think it just kind of goes towards, what does it look like to be emotionally intelligent? What does it look like and sound like to come from a heart of gratefulness? And so I thought it would be a great topic because I've interviewed a lot of people, and one of the commonalities of all the most successful people I interview, it's just how they show up. It's the energy that they bring, the attitude that they have. And a lot of that it's not tactical, it's kind of fueled within. So the way I want to kick this topic off is, Todd, if you wouldn't mind for the community just kind of defining emotional intelligence, and then let's just have a discussion, for as long as the discussion goes, on how can we improve our emotional intelligence and upgrade that so that we can drive productivity and success. So, Todd Booksmith.
Well, and it's such an important conversation, right? I mean, emotional intelligence is one of those things that it's a soft touch, right? It's hard to describe what it is. So I pulled it up on my iPad here. It's defined by the dictionary on the internet as the capacity to be aware of, control, and express one's emotions, and to handle interpersonal relationships judiciously and empathetically. And so it's funny that it ends with empathetically, and it talks about interpersonal relationships, because to me, when I learned about emotional intelligence, it was, probably a decade ago. And what I took away from that was it's really your ability to understand yourself and be thinking through. So if I'm talking to Dave and I know that Dave is going to rile me up, or that, he's going to rub me the wrong way, it's how am I going to respond, right? So the emotional intelligence really is your ability when you think you're going to get hijacked, is sort of one of the words they use in that community. And all of a sudden you're going to go over the edge. We've all been there, right? It's sort of like the road rage piece, right? So, you're driving down, you got that person riding your bumper, and, you're deciding what to do. You have different responses that you can have. And so what my takeaway was is that it's my ability that when I'm going into a situation where I know it's going to set me off in some way, right? So think about it. When you have, that realtor that is going to be all over you, or, maybe he or she isn't the ideal person. How are you going to prepare for that conversation so you can go into it and not let them rile you, so that you can be yourself? And then, I think you also have this interpersonal piece of it. And then how do you connect with people? Because, Cindy is the queen of connection, and how can you learn from her and how she has those meetings to better your business and be prepared for that? And I think that's I think that there's a lot of great books on it out there. Steve Scanlon's been a guest. I know he runs Rewire on here. He was my coach for quite a while and a good friend, and he's really into emotional intelligence. So there's just lots of great places you can learn about it. But ultimately, I think if you go back and watch the interview from Tuesday where Cindy walks through, hey, this is why my first meeting is this way, and then here's how I do it in the second meeting, I think there's a ton to learn there as well. Does that sound like a good way to kick it off, Dave?
Yeah, thank you for setting the table. And again, I can't emphasize enough for anybody on this call, which hopefully everybody is interested in upping your EQ and upping the EQ of people around you. We all have a team. I mean, if you've got dedicated assistants, you have a team, but the more you can upgrade your team's emotional IQ, the more successful. I really believe that it's like the heart of productivity. It drives your productivity, because if you don't have a high IQ and you're going up and down and all around, you can't really kill it. So make sure you subscribe to WeWork. Just follow Steve Scanlon. I've also interviewed Steve a number of times. So if you just go to our YouTube channel and type in Steve Scanlon, pick the interview, and you can't go wrong. So Todd, let's do this, because I know we only have you for a half hour. I know I came in with one tactic that I learned a long time ago to kind of up my EQ or help me handle with different situations. Any advice you have to the audience? Anything that, like, here are some things that you can tactically do to help, be your best, grow your IQ, and EQ, and execute at a really high level. Anything?
I think it's a slow down, right? I mean, again, we all know that the best approach with any relationship is to ask better questions and listen more. And if you can just slow down in any situation where there's a potential for you to feel uncomfortable, there's a potential for the other person to feel uncomfortable, there's a potential for you to get upset, for them to get upset, whatever the relationship is, there's that whole ability just to pause, which is really difficult. I've got a big post-it note in my office, and on it says, there's magic in the silence, because if you just can pause to think before you respond, that's really where emotional intelligence kicks in, right? And again, you see it all the time, whether you're watching sports and you see, the guy get bumped, whether it was intentionally or accidentally, and he's on the floor and he gets up, he's got a choice. He can get up, brush it off, and move on and go focus on the next play, or he can get in a person's face and maybe get a foul, or get into an argument, and then all of a sudden he's off his game for the rest of the game, or it takes him a while to get back into it. And so for me, I think it's just the whole idea of be okay with pausing, be okay with silence. You don't have to talk and react, because ultimately react is what unemotionally intelligent, is that the right word? Is that what I do? The people who don't have great emotional intelligence, they're reactors, right? They react without thinking. And so just try to slow down and think first. And then what you'll find is, and again, I don't know, for me, it's come with age. I don't know any better way to say it, but as you go through age, and I just get wiser, where, especially like with teenage children, right? I mean, teenage children tend to have a lack of emotional intelligence. And I often find that as a grown up, I was stooping to a teenager's level in conversations. And I finally realized, what, I just got hijacked. And okay, how should I do this? And the pause and the silence really help. So that's sort of my take, and would be kind of my couple quick hints.
Love it. So remember, everybody, if you have a question, or by the way, you want to add something to the call, chat with us, and also I can unmute you. So let us know if you'd like to get unmuted and brought into this conversation. So Michelle, I'm going to share an idea, and then if you could be ready to share something, and then Todd, let's talk about it. And then folks, we're going to switch topics. We'll talk about emotional intelligence and a heart of gratitude, as long as you guys want to keep it going. So first of all, I don't claim to have it figured out. I'm a work in progress. I make mistakes every day.
Aren't we all?
Sins against emotional intelligence. Every single day I trip over something. But something I learned, and I don't know how many years ago, I mean, it's over a decade. I multiple times went to Tony Robbins events. I've done the fire walk 3 times. I've done a couple 3-day events, read all of his books, and neurolinguistics, I really believe, is one of the most important things I ever learned, a decade or so ago. And so neurolinguistics, it's how we talk to ourselves upstairs. And when I kind of apply that to emotional intelligence, I'll give you an example. Like, let's say I'm going out to a date with my wife. You know, I told, like, hard to get reservations, honey. You've got to be home by 6:30. We got to get there at 7. Don't be late. And let's just say it's 6:35. She's not home, and she hasn't texted me. I mean, what's up? You know. And by the way, I could start asking myself questions like, she's shopping, man. She just, why does she even have to get something new? You know, why, you know, or she shop. So if I ask myself the question, she's shopping, she's at the mall, she just doesn't want to tell me, and we're going to be late because she needed a new pair of shoes, I'm going to be pissed off when she calls me, texts me, you know, whatever. So that's a question. I could also think to myself, oh my God, she's in a car accident. You know, I mean, she wouldn't do this unless something happened to her, you know, in which case, when she calls me, I'd be like, honey, you okay? You know, totally different. And then I could also ask myself a question, you know, she was hanging out with that soccer dad the other day. Is she cheating on me? You know, like, what's up? This doesn't make any sense. And based off the questions that I ask myself and which one I believe, by the way, choosing the questions, choosing your belief is just a choice. I am going to show up differently, you know, and in every minute. So to me, the takeaway I had is I learned about this neurolinguistics. I learned about questions, and then I realized that just about everything that happens to me in my life, there's at least 3 questions, 3 different beliefs that I can have. So if I'm going to believe something, choose that belief and try to have it be one that helps you show up in a little better light. So that's my tactic, hack, thought for you to share with you guys is neurolinguistics. Think about the questions you asked. Todd, any comments on that before we go to Michelle?
No, I just love your transparency on that, right? Because we've all been there, right? I mean, that's, you know, that's really the key. And I think that's why, you know, it's such an interesting topic, right? I mean, you know, some people are probably going, well, hey, how come you're not talking like something tactical about mortgages? Well, this actually is, you know, really tactical. It's how can you approach whatever it is you're doing in life. You mentioned gratitude. So I'd love to talk about that for, you know, for a sec, because I kind of feel there's a lot of different studies out there about gratitude and sort of that mindset piece and how do you set yourself up for the day. And I kind of feel like it's one of those things to bookend your day with, right? What's my morning gratitude? What am I grateful for? And I've always heard people say you can't be grateful and frustrated or angry at the same time. So it really does get you rolling in the morning when you spend some time on it. And then, you know, I've done some research on it because it's one of the things that we built into Win by Noon was morning I'm grateful for. And then we have at the end of the day, right, the highs of my day, like what did I really do today? So you really can remember and write down, hey, this was success. This is really a fun thing that I did today. So I'm a big believer in it, but I was laughing because I was looking at it this morning on, like, Time Magazine says it can help you with your sleep, and it can also maybe help you with overeating. So I have no idea how they came up with that. It doesn't seem like they have anything in there, but it says it replenishes your willpower. So again, there's all sorts of benefits to it if you just think through it for yourself. But ultimately, then I think it's going to give you a better, you know, and Dave talks about how you show up. I think you're going to show up better for yourself first and foremost, and for the people that you care about the most when you're grateful. So I thought it was a really cool topic that you brought up, Dave.
Yeah, and by the way, let's rip on that for a minute before we bring Michelle in, because I know Josh Metal. We both you coached him. We're both friends with him. I've interviewed him countless times, and something he's very well known for, and he talks about every time you talk to him, is how disciplined they are about prospecting, and it's something that him and his team do. They time block it, you know, turn off phones, and focus on, you know, creating new business, prospecting. But every time I've ever heard him talk about it, he always talks about how they have this gratitude session. And by the way, I've never interviewed him and asked him, Josh, exactly what are you doing? Like, how long is it? What are you doing? You know, how are you and your team preparing yourself for the day with a heart of gratitude? So, Todd, if you don't mind, tell everybody why they should do that, and then tell everybody what does that mean? Like, what are the steps?
Well, you know, I'll give you kind of don't quote me on it because it's probably not exactly right, but I think I've got the general gist of it because I've talked to Josh about it enough. But they start a half an hour beforehand and they have their gratitude meeting where they go around and everyone in the group talks about what they're grateful for today. And then they actually go around again and set their intentions for what they intend to do during that prospecting time. because again, they really want to get their minds focused on how to do that. And, it's, willpower is, it's interesting that gratitude talks about how it improves your willpower, but, the biggest challenge that we all have when it comes to doing things like that 2 hours that they do of prospecting is the willpower to stay focused and not get distracted. And so, that setting their intentions, I think, has been a huge piece of it, as well. And so, I think in the end, really, you just have to take the time to set yourself in a quiet spot where you can think through it. And I challenge myself to try to think of something different each day, 3 things that I'm grateful for, and I try to make it different. Right. So, so for me, today I said I was grateful for my family, which is the one thing that's always on there. There's always some variation of that. Opportunity to meet new people, because I am going to meet 20 new people today who got invited to be part of this class today. And this one's kind of sappy, but it says my friendship with Dave. So I'm grateful for that since I missed you for the last 2 weeks. So, again, it's really trying to get specific, around that. So I don't know that answered your question or not, but that was the direction I took.
So by the way, this is awesome because we took this topic of emotional intelligence, gratitude, and now we're really setting it up to prospect more consistently, and do it more effectively, which is completely on point to your success as a mortgage professional. So what I'd love to do, like literally right now, just do a big group gratitude meeting. And I'm going to ask anybody and everybody that's willing to be so, transparent, what are you grateful for? Just think like today. I know one of the things I'm grateful for is just this role I have at Mortgage Coach, that we have, the nation's most successful and coolest loan officers. It's not just that, we are a group of ballers that are getting after it, but it really is a cool group of people that just have a good heart. So I am super grateful for that. But what are you guys grateful for? And then you'll be gone, Todd. But Michelle, let's make sure we also talk about the intention of the day. Like, okay, we're grateful. Let's talk after we get rid of Todd here and talk about, what are the things we're going to get done if we want to kill it in the mortgage business. So Todd, you got to jump in a few minutes. I want to make sure we get the most out of you before you leave. But, anything you want to drive the community else to talk about, or anything you want to set the stage before you have to leave us?
Well, I love the people that are putting stuff in chat of what they're grateful for, family and spouses. And, I think all this stuff is so important. And I do believe it's awesome to be able to speak it out loud. It's kind of one of those things, where we don't all grow up and where people share ideas like that transparently. And so, it's a lot of fun. We've started off a lot of meetings with that long ago when I would do team meetings, and it's just one of the things we fell out of the habit of. So I made a note here that I'm going to pull out all my gratitude stuff from before my notes and how we ran that in the meetings and reinstitute that. So I just think through how can you put this into your life, right? First personally, and then how can you use it to impact the people around you? Because I think in the end, right, one of the things, you guys are all leaders. You lead other people, whether it's just you and you don't have a team, but you're leading other people in your office, right? There's processors and there's assistants and there's other people who look up to you in your loan officer role. So how can you positively influence them through the stuff that you're learning here on Mortgage Coach that's a little bit off the beaten path of what we normally talk about? And so like I said, that's why I was excited sort of to talk about it today. I don't know that I've got any other genius on it, but I can just tell you that I started to do research on it just because as I'm really digging into more of the feedback that I'm getting from users of Win by Noon, that's one of the areas that people like the most, right? When we originally surveyed people, like, what would you want in a daily planner? They all talk about their journal and how they have this gratitude piece as part of it. And it's interesting to see how other people, take it up. I'll use my wife as an example. She would probably kill me, but I don't think she'll watch this, so it's okay. But, she got the 5-minute journal app for her phone, and she downloaded it because I had gotten it as a gift from somebody. And, it's got your morning gratitude, your afternoon gratitude, and like stories of your day. I don't use it anymore since I use my Win by Noon. Sorry, too many plugs for that today. But it's got a picture too. So she just loves that, she loves that piece of it. And it's funny because for her, she said, I just started doing it and it's had a big impact on her. She goes out, I laugh. She sent me a picture this morning since I was on a flight out of Vegas at way too early, 5:30, and it was her and my daughter sitting in front of the fire, and like, you know, she had her phone up, and I know she was doing her gratitudes, which don't laugh because it was probably 75 in Arizona, and they had the fire going in the backyard, but that was awesome. So I think it's just one of those things. Think about the habits that you have, and you know, we could do a whole nother call on morning routines and why that's important, how to sort of build that out. But you know, ultimately, we know that most of the super productive people in the world all have great morning routines, and I would be willing to wager that the majority of those people have some type of gratitude piece that they build into each day, because it's just critical.
Yeah, no, it is the energy that drives you. And so I'm going to wing it here, Todd, and I want you to hold me accountable to this. But I think it'd be cool if, you know, I don't want to say we'll do this forever, but like until it feels like it's either losing steam or it's getting old, that this Friday call, we start the topic every 5 minutes. Guys, what are you grateful for? And we just make that part of what you get at this Friday call is a place where Dave, Todd, Michelle, and Jen are going to ask you that question. And we want you to share it. Like I posted it in our Facebook group. I put, what are you grateful for? I would love it if you are either watching this video or you're participating in this. Let's get a thread going in the Mortgage Coach Productivity Mastermind group. And again, whether it's professionally, personally, business-wide, there is no right answer except for one that feels right to you. So let us know what you're grateful for. Well, hey, man, I want to make sure you can leave whatever you want. I'm going to bring Michelle into the conversation, and whenever you jump, you jump. But I'm grateful for you, Todd Buxman. Thanks for wanting to be here and fit us into your busy schedule.
You know, it's like I said, it's such a I don't know, it's always a highlight of my week, and I know you guys all think it's really corny, and maybe some of you are tired of hearing me, but yeah, we stumbled into this, gosh, almost 2 years ago now, and I think it's just really changed the trajectory of my life. So that's why I'm grateful for it and all the community that we have. And you know, even yesterday where I hosted a mastermind in Vegas, and we had a mixture of realtors and loan officers, and it was just a blast that people literally, someone flew in. There's an event there today that we were piggybacking on that I'm ditching to go to this other event, but I was grateful. I mean, people literally flew in just for the mastermind, right? We did a 2-hour mastermind. It ended up running about 2.5 hours. But, you know, the fact that people were willing to do that, to be part of it, really means a lot. And I think that that is the opportunity that you all have, right? We all have that opportunity to impact people in a different way. And, you know, if you would ask me 2 years ago, would someone fly in, you know, just to spend 2 hours with a group of people that I assembled to have a conversation about our business that we're in and to grow each other, I don't think that would have happened. And that's part of the reason that I'm grateful for it. So I will jump. I'm excited. I'm sorry I'm missing you, Michelle. It's always good to hear your voice, even though we're not seeing your face today. And I will make sure I'm out of town next weekend. I'm taking a birthday trip of a lifetime with my parents. So you'll see me in a couple of weeks again, but that's why I couldn't be gone for a month. So we'll see you guys soon.
All right, everybody. So make sure you go to Win by Noon if you're not part of Todd's community. He also has a Facebook group, Win by Noon. If you're watching the recording, join that. Take care, Todd. And
we would love to have you. All right, guys.
Look forward to seeing you.
Bye,
All
guys.
right. So, Michelle, it's just you and me. You were pretty quiet. And I know I didn't bring you in too many times, but you heard a lot. So where would you like to go? You know, you want to share an idea on emotional intelligence? You want to share some thoughts on gratitude? Or do you want to switch the topic and go somewhere else?
Well, you helped me pause. If you want to keep me muted, that helps me pause. And it's actually pretty funny that that's part of emotional intelligence. First, I am very fortunate. Cindy Ertman is my coach. And I chose her, or she chose me. We chose each other like 3 years ago. And anybody who's heard any of my interviews knows that she's made an incredible impact on my life. So shout out to Cindy, because she really is. Talk about somebody who, this is my newest word from my current boss, is she's remarkable. And that's really important to me. Is I surround myself, I look to surround myself with those types of people. Emotional intelligence is really learning to communicate better, right? And not take anything personal. And for a lot of us who are high D's, high I's, it's really hard for us because we run at levels that are so fast and we're always on that sometimes we don't know when to be quiet. And that is, I am still learning that art, so I have not perfected it yet. I still blow up. A great example, I love to give examples because that always helps me, is my newest mentor in my life is my current boss, which is Al Hensling. And yesterday we had a disagreement. And I was able, we ended the call without me reacting, which was nice. But and he was like, hey, let's talk about this. And I'm like, listen, I need to pause because I want to make sure I stay respectful. So just give me a little bit of time to absorb this. And his response to me was remarkable as well, which was, apparently today, and this is what I like about people who are high emotionally intelligent people, and we both sat there and said, this is the right thing to do, is to wait, settle back, and then come back when we can both talk about it. But he made a funny comment, and he says, well, today apparently is not the day that I'm supposed to be communicating with women very well, and made it a joke, which softened the mood. So I love that he, is able to do that and also make an impact in my life. I've learned also to pick my battles, which is easier to do now where I'm in my career than it was when I was starting my career, because I get to pick the people I work with as well. And I choose to surround myself with the realtors who do not hit that button of mine. And I've gotten the confidence enough when they do hit that button of mine to actually have a calm conversation with them afterwards and say, hey, I want our partnership to work. In order for this partnership to work, we really need to work on our communication skills. Here's what upsets me. Is there something, and can you tell me what upsets you? Is there a way that we can work around this? Because I want to continue working with you. And to be able to do that, I think respectfully, your agent respects you so much more. Your clients respect you so much more. And I can sleep at night, which is really important to me. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is gratefulness. I'm super grateful for a lot of things in my life. And part of it is I'm grateful for the community that I'm in, the people that I'm surrounding with, because they do make a positive impact on my life. That is, anybody who's listened to me knows that is one of our core values, is a positive impact. There's so much negativity in this world. I choose not to engage in it. And this mortgage coach community allows me to give back, because that's important to me. I need to feel needed and wanted, just like I think that's the basic human. We're all basic human beings, and we need to be loved, and we need to feel needed and wanted. And so I choose the community has chosen me, which is nice, and I've been able to choose them, and we've made this great relationship together. And that is what I'm super grateful today, that you guys allow me the opportunity to share and to learn.
I love what you said. And, it made me think, because I just want to keep riffing on this topic, but also bring it to everybody in a way that's practical for their day-to-day. And let's face it, as mortgage professionals, real estate agents, whether they're prospects or they're customers, and then the fact that there's just deals. There's two types of deals with problems and deals with solved problems, is a constant obstacle course for emotional intelligence. So I have a few more things I want to say, but I want you to be thinking, what are the different, kind of like the most common things that happen over the course of the day when it comes to real estate agents? And how we do objection handling? Hey, I get rate shopped. How do I handle that objection? Let's go, hey, I get challenged with emotional intelligence. And what's my script for okay, I'm getting ready to go to battle here. So I want you to be thinking about that, Michelle. And a couple things before Michelle and I go down that road. One, I wanted everybody to realize that if you went to our YouTube channel, as you can see, if you're looking at the screen, I typed in Cindy Ertman, it'll pull up the interviews from Cindy. And by the way, every single one of them is all-time greatest, must watch. The one, which is the most recent, 6 months ago, 7 steps to 7-figure mortgage success. Highly recommend it. Also, I just remembered the first time I interviewed you, Michelle, it was you and Cindy. So, an all-time greatest call. It was the first time I had interviewed her as a mortgage coach, $100 million producer. And I think Cindy is the one who helped set up the interview. So do you remember that? That was a little over a year ago.
Oh no, I remember it very well because I didn't want to do it. It was part of her coaching, and she like pushed me out of my comfort zone, and I was just nervous, and so she says, I'll be your guide, and she goes, I'll guide you. She goes, and it was probably one of the first times that I mean, I trust her with a lot of stuff, but it was really the first time publicly that I was able to trust her, because she's like, I'm not going to let you fall. And so I gave it to her. I said, okay, I trust you implicitly. Take me, lead me, and I will follow you. And it was like, for me, it was a defining moment, and her coaching is the defining difference. It's funny because it was a defining moment for both of us and our relationship. We took it to another level after that mortgage coach interview.
Love it. Well, it's a must watch. It was one of my favorite interviews, and it introduced our relationship. And I've seen you grow so much. I remember you were like, no video. I don't do videos, you know, and you were uncomfortable. And now here you are, part of this Friday mastermind leadership community. And you're not on video today, but you're on video all the time. And you're showing up as a leader in ways that you couldn't even imagine a year ago. So I'm super grateful for you, Michelle. Anyways, I do want to. Go ahead.
Well, I do want to share one thing, and the reason why, and this is another reason, another way of emotional intelligence in a funny way, ironic, is the reason why I'm not on video today, you guys, and Dave knows, is I woke up at 6 and both my dogs tried to get out the dog door at the same time, and the dog door fell over on one of my dogs, and I grabbed her and I said, we're not starting our day this way. So I made a conscious choice to come back to bed with the dog and me and say, yep, this isn't the way we're starting our day. And that, to me, although it's funny and ironic, is also the growth pattern that I've had to say, I am allowing myself the time that we need to not start our day this way.
Love it. Love it. Well, I'm going to give one more personal tactic on just for me, what works is, and then I'm going to throw it to the community. And then Michelle, you be ready to talk about how you think emotional intelligence, gratitude can help you navigate the challenges that we hit daily with agents. And remember, community, if you have a question, post it. We will get it answered. If you have something you want to come in and share and get unmuted, we will unmute you and bring you in. Personally, I have to pretty much go no news. You know, the news is so negative that every time I watch it, I find myself either getting mad, feeling guilty that I'm not doing more to make a difference in a world that I don't have impact over. So I mean, anyways, on a personal note, you know, so that I can be my best, I have to pretty much not watch the news. You know, I mean, it's just, I'll go through different periods where I'll get sucked in for a week, sucked in for a season, but you know, putting too much negative news in my head really hurts me. Now, again, I have friends that are news junkies that are also incredibly productive. They almost feel like I'm irresponsible how much I cut news and politics out of my life. They're like, you know, you need to be educated. You need to know the topics. And I'm like, no, I don't. You know, I don't have the bandwidth emotionally to show up at Mortgage Coach, to show up on these videos if I watch pretty much any news. And so I'm very thoughtful about what I put in my head. And I know a lot of other people are. I would love to know, you know, if anybody's watching this, whether you're on our Facebook group, you know, what are some things that you do that you think put you in a really good space to show up as an emotionally intelligent leader, as a mortgage professional, and also show up with just a super big heart of gratitude. So community, flood us with ideas. Michelle, any comments on that before we jump on realtor strategies?
I am very much like you. The news is, I'll allow myself like 30 minutes of news, and that's it, because I'm very empathetic, and I am like you, Dave. I feel guilty that I'm not doing something, and I don't have enough room right now emotionally to be able to tackle that and the job that I have, and you know what I have right now. When it's something that's, you know, extremely important, obviously I'm going to jump on because that's important. You know, something like a war or things like that, I'll get in to see what's going on, but I can't. I know my limitations, and it will distract me so much that I won't actually be able to function. And so I don't watch news.
Yeah, and I do. I mean, even 30 minutes, 5 minutes, I just try to. I've taken most news out of my news feeds. I, just don't watch it at home. Just really try to avoid it, except for some sports. I subscribe to sports news feeds, and anybody who follows me know I has a passion for lacrosse. So I follow a lot of lacrosse news, every bit of it. But call it the mainstream media. And then, of course, I love American Dream TV. That's one of the reasons why I love helping Craig Sewing build that platform. Is the whole platform is built on positive news with an edge, and showcasing success. So I am a big fan of American Dream TV. So that's me. Michelle, I'm going to look for some questions from the community and try to bring some people in at the break. But if you wouldn't mind, just what are some of the obstacles that you run into with agents, and how do you address them?
Okay, well, that could be like 20 hours, but I'll just do the top two. The first one is you're not closing on time. What's happening? We're missing our contingencies, and you've got people heightened and angry, and at this point, it's now emotional. I do not avoid at all. I take those calls, but I usually let them go to voicemail first so that they have time to cool off. I have time to check with my team and see what's going on. And then I almost script it in my head so that I can try to keep a path of how to answer those questions. And I always start when I have an adversarial conversation. I know, don't laugh, but I always start with the word, "Oh, hi." And I always use the word "oh" because "oh" make sure you can't frown and say "oh." It takes, so like if you're stressed and your mouth is down because you're sad or you're frustrated, when you say the word "oh," you cannot keep that frown in. So it kind of moves my mouth so that I know it just makes me smile because I know I'm doing it. So I go in there. That's the first thing I do. I always say, "Oh, hi, Sally. How can I help you?" And she'll say, "Hey, we're not hitting our contingencies. We're going to lose this house today." And I'll say, "Gosh, I'm so sorry. I've checked with my team. Here's what's going on." A most recent one, we had a client that had not told us that she was married, and we were doing a VA loan, and it was definitely a little bit heightened and stressful because they had already removed contingencies, and it came up at the very end. And we were able to address that. And I always tell them, listen, I can't let the problem work me. I've got to work the problem. So I know you're upset, but let's deal with the facts right now and what we can do to solve it. I do allow them, though, the time to vent. And I just stay very quiet. Or I'll say, sometimes I might say, "Oh, and just so they know I'm listening, but I will not interject. And one of my biggest faults that I still work on today is trying to get my point across. They don't care what my point is. I have to remember that it's their point.
Right. So love that. By the way, does anybody want to raise their hand and ask Michelle another question on this particular topic, or want to go another direction? Just either put a question in questions or put something in chat. I do have a lot of great feedback. So for all of you that have just told us what you're grateful for, thank you. Will and a few other people, Michelle, have just validated everything you said. It's like Michelle hit the nail on the head. Really appreciate your perspective. So great job, Michelle. Any other thoughts while we get some collaboration for the audience?
Sure. I think, when I was brand new and in originations, I've done processing forever, but originations I've actually only been doing for 11 years now. My biggest fear was the agents. I was scared to death of them. And I don't know why I was so scared to death of them, because they're just human beings. They're partners. And I think if I could give any advice to anybody is, remember, this is a partnership. And if you get an agent that is telling you that this isn't a partnership, that, this is all your fault, whatever, remind them that this is a partnership and we have to work together. It is empowering to be able to say that, and live it, because own the mistakes that you made. Don't hide them. Don't try to blame them on somebody else. Own them, because once you own your mistakes, most people are grateful that you own the mistake, and then they can get past to working the problem instead of, working for the solution instead of making the problem, amplified. And you'll find that most agents, that especially the seasoned agents, they know that things are going to happen. They've been through this before. You're going to get the agent that says, I've never in 25 years had a loan close late. And my response to that is, oh my gosh, you are the exception. Congratulations. Because that's not true.
Right. So folks, if you have a question, if you want to add something, I want to make sure everybody heard something you said. It sounded like advice you would have given your younger self, or, when you became an originator, just that fear of realtors. And by the way, that's emotional intelligence, knowing how to show up as a leader and not just someone that's like, squirrel chasing nuts. What can I do? I'm here to help you. Thank you so much for your time. Just kind of over people pleasing and just showing up as a partner and a leader. Any other advice you could give around that? Because I do think that's, whether we've got a lot of new loan officers that are in their first 18 months of the business. And then we do have a lot of loan officers that just aren't showing up as a leader. Any other advice you have to, some self-talk to get them and help them, really get on point, show up as a leader?
I like to use examples because it's relative for me. So big whales, the big agents and everything, those are the ones that used to intimidate the Jesus out of me. I mean, I wouldn't even get on the phone with them because I was like, why would they even talk to me? So I do my normal calls. Again, I am very routine driven. So I call a listing agent, I call a selling agent. I'm always in contact with them throughout the process. No matter if it's good or bad, they always hear from me. One of the agents that we just closed a very difficult deal on, she's a big producer out here, and she said, I want to thank you for something. And I said, what's that? She goes, first of all, that you communicate very well. And she goes, and no matter, throughout this whole transaction, even though we closed late, she goes, you were very upfront. You kept me informed the whole way. You let me know what was going on, and you made it very, you were definitely leading this transaction. She goes, I didn't ever feel that you had lost control. And that was key. And she said, the second thing is, you haven't called me 20 times and asked me to go to coffee with you. She goes, I don't have time for coffee. She goes, I have time for people who do the job, say what they do, and do what they say. And she goes, I would love to have coffee with you if you have time. So it was the role reversal of not bombarding her. And I know, listen, we're all trying to grab the purchase business right now because that's where the business is. Be mindful of your realtor's time. So when you're going after the big whale, or the person who does, 20 or 30 transactions a month, or, even 20 or 30 transactions a year, if you want to have coffee with them, I would say, listen, I know you're super busy right now. I'm here to help you. How can I help you get less busy? Is there something that I can do to help you? And then one of these days, when you have time, I'd love to have coffee with you when you have a break. Because right now is the prime season, so they're all out hustling and doing open houses and everything. And it's as simple as, I don't do this anymore, but at the beginning, I would go and set their signs out for them. I would say, listen, I don't need to be at the open house, but why don't I help you set up your signs? Is there anything? Are you going to be walking one of your communities? Do you need some company? I mean, make value offers to them instead of trying to get them to give you their business. Let them kind of come to you a little bit. That would probably be my best advice.
So by the way, I mean, if you're a top producer, you're killing it. Maybe you don't have time to go, door knocking with realtors or set up their open houses. Although I advise you, then get a bigger team and have the bandwidth to do that. But, just kind of reflecting back on my interview with Nicole Solari, and she, again, 200 home a year, top producer, #1 lead source, open houses. And she was telling loan officers, hey, you want to help me with open houses? Help put up my signs. Help, go from door to door and let the neighbors know that we're doing a house, So it made me think, that is a great strategy. And what agent wouldn't, that would completely distinguish you, especially if you're new, if you were willing to do some of that hard work. That, by the way, it not only requires emotional intelligence, it requires emotional fortitude. Get over your fears and get out there and do it. So I love that, Michelle. So I did get a question from, go ahead.
One thing, I do have somebody on my team that does that, by the way. So we do offer that service. So, yeah.
So, by the way, before we move on, we got 10 minutes. Scott Short, I will get your question answered from Michelle, so stay tuned. I think it's super good. Give us the scripting on that. So you saying you have someone on your team that is a service that you add to agents. I want to hear how you describe that to an agent.
So I use MTA Go, so I know when my agents that I work with are having an open house, and our script is we reach out to them and say, hey, Carlos, hey, congratulations. Looks like you're having, congratulations on your new listing. Are you going to be doing an open house this weekend? And he'll say yes. And I'll say, hey, Sonia's available. If you like, she can help you set out signs or do some door knocking and let the neighbors know that you're having the open house this weekend. Would you, what time would you like her there? So I don't give them the opportunity to tell me no.
Wow. So, first of all, that is powerful. How often do agents say no? Oh no, I don't need that. I'm good.
I have a couple that say, hey, no worries. We've got it covered. And I'll say, okay, great. Let us know. Would you like us to drop anything off? Do you need any beverages or waters or anything like that? And then I always let Sonia know, because she's a seasoned loan officer, but she was strictly on refinance business. So the opportunities to meet realtors and present herself, she wants every opportunity. She's very hungry. And so I'll say, hey, Carlos is having an open house this weekend. You might want to stop by if you want to, because it's a warm lead for her. They all know her. They know who she is. All of my agents know who she is. So I do that. And whenever I do a broker preview, she comes with me, because I want my agents to become comfortable with her, because she's the one that's going to sit at the open house. It's not me.
Love it. So we've been talking a lot about how Mortgage Coach community can help support open houses, the whole digital, or not digital, paperless open house. I'll put a link below if you're watching the recording, a link below to the Nicole Solari interview on how to do a paperless open house and how to get more leads. And I do believe for any, call it new loan officers or loan officers that aren't closing at least 60 loans a year, there's just no reason just doing open houses and the leads that you can get, doing them effectively, could be a 60, loan a year program if you just put in the sweat equity to do it. So this question came in from Scott Short to you, Michelle. What is your scripting when a real estate agent says, you need to give me a referral before I give you one?
Oh gosh, I don't think I've ever had anybody say that to me. But how I would answer that is fantastic. I would love to give you a referral, but this is a partnership. So that's when I would actually say, I kind of need to meet with you to understand your business model, so that I know that the referrals that I'm giving to you are going to be your highest and best use. Because I'm not going to give a referral to a $200,000 condo to an agent who's doing only lists and does $1.5 million a year. So I don't have a lot of agents that say that to me, and maybe it's just because of how I've branded myself. They know I'm a quality loan officer right now. But if somebody were to say that to me, I would say, fantastic, I would love to do that. This is when we would actually need to meet so that I can understand your business model, so that the referrals that I give to you are going to be your highest and best use.
Got it. And now I do want everybody to know Michelle, $100 million producer team, and she has systems and processes so that she does have referrals every month to give. And it's just a question of who she gives them to based off of her internal criteria. Michelle, how many referrals do you deliver, monthly, annually? Do you know that number?
Yeah. So, yes. So Zillow I'm a Zillow girl, have always been a Zillow girl. I give out, we get 20 leads a month right now, is what our average is. And I refer out all 20 of those, even if I haven't spoken to them yet, because again, it's about giving value and showing the realtor that I'm going to give you just as much as you're going to give me, because I need to make this partnership equitable. It can't be one-sided. And that is, again, as a new loan officer, in your head, you're believing, and for me, I believe that the realtor needed me more than I needed them. Or, I mean, opposite. I needed the realtor more than they needed them. And it's not that way. And you have to get that out of your head, but you have to do it with no ego as well. You have to go in there and say, hey, I totally appreciate that. And this will be a partnership, and define something Cindy has taught me to do, which I still have one or two agents that I haven't finished perfecting this with, is making sure they understand that it is a partnership. And being able to say that, again, I'm at a spot in my life where I can afford to say no to an agent. When you're new, you can't. Sometimes you have to make some sacrifices, but don't sacrifice your core values, because it will not work out. You'll end up firing them, or something will go wrong. I mean, one of the realtors I worked with for years, I loved her dearly, and we're personally still friends, but we couldn't work together because she was a micromanager, and she micromanaged the loan process as well. And I finally had to say, I can't do this anymore. I said, I love you to death. I said, but my team cringes every time they hear your name. And I said, and I've got to protect them right now. And if you're willing to let me lead the loan process and you lead the real estate process, we can continue to work together. If not, I have several people that I can refer you to that would probably better suit your needs. And that is really powerful to be able to say, and say it with confidence and compassion. By the way, it did not go over well. It took us a year to be friends again, but it did not go over well.
Well, congratulations at being to that point. And to Scott and other people, I highly recommend that the modern mortgage professional that's going to kill it in 2020 and beyond, you need to be a coach, you need to leverage technology, and you need to have a platform that does generate referrals for all your partners. Now, does that mean you need to invest in Zillow leads? No. But you do need to invest in your past customer database. I do believe you want to be the digital mayor in the markets that you serve. There's just so many ways to create opportunities that, I'm not saying everybody needs to be a consumer direct only loan officer. I'm just saying that if, hey, remember, for every 1,000 past customers you have, that's 100 loans a year. That means 100 past customers is 10 loans a year. And some of those are referrals. So if you're doing annual reviews, you've got referrals to get. So, I think that, the goal for every loan officer is to have a mortgage practice where you have consistent stream of referrals to give to agents. And it's just a question of who's worthy, who is a partner of yours, who do you trust because you know their business, and you do have referrals to bring. But no, you don't want to just that be the reason they do business with you.
One more piece of advice for Scott. Scott, that agent that's saying we'll do business when you do a referral, I would probably say fantastic. What I'd like to do is start with the past clients that you have. Do you talk to them on a regular basis? Can I help you with that? And maybe help, say, I can help you with referrals from your own database. And I can show you how to do that better. That would get you probably your foot in the door saying, if I could, and I don't want your database, but I can make calls on your behalf. Even if it's a birthday call or, hey, how's the house going? I mean, I check in with my clients all the time to make sure that the loan's going well. I find that real estate agents don't do that. So that could bring a value add to you. I'd be happy to go through your past database and contact all your clients and say, hey, I'm calling on behalf of so-and-so realtor. We just want to make sure the house is going well. Is there anything that this realtor can do for you? And that would be a value add right there.
Love it. So couple things as we wrap up today's call. I also wanted to shine a light on my most recent interview that I posted in our LinkedIn group, and it's in the YouTube channel. Wowing first-time homebuyers with Mason Buckle. Check that out. Great interview. If you didn't see the interview with Shane Codwell from last week, awesome interview. It was all about rate shopping, how to win with rate shoppers. So check that out. One last thing to shine a light on before we wrap up today's call. I opened up talking about this article about Dwayne Casey. Read it. You know, not only do you want to kind of hear the story, see how he responded, but then the way they broke down how he responded and, you know, why his response was just so on point and so great, I just think is a great exercise for everybody. So with that said, we are going to wrap up today's call. Have an awesome weekend. Thank you for giving Michelle, myself, and Todd an hour of your time. For those of you that did ask questions or make comments, grateful for you. And for those that didn't, you know, bring more questions next time. And we'll see you next Friday, 9 o'clock Pacific. Take care, everybody.
Take care, everybody.